we're diagnosing a P1133. That's an upstream O2 sensor heater circuit. And I want to tell you how an O2 heater works and why we need an O2 heater. We need an O2 heater to ionize the oxygen on the inside of the O2 sensor. So if we look at an O2 sensor, exhaust gas is going to blow by the outside of the sensor here, and on the inside of the sensor there's outside oxygen, and the difference between the outside oxygen and the exhaust oxygen is going to register on these two leads. In order to ionize the oxygen, it has to be 200 degrees Celsius. So we use an O2 heater that can reach temperatures of 500 degrees Celsius. And the O2 heater is essentially a heater like any other heater, is a coil of wire that we run a current through, and a byproduct of a current is heat. So our heater is just a wire, and it's coiled over and has a resistance, and as electrons flow through the wire, the byproduct is heat. The sensor gets hot, it ionizes the oxygen, and we're able to see the difference in outside oxygen compared to inside oxygen and adjust fuel control. So when we have this code, we looked at a couple different test procedures, but Subaru particularly wanted us to take a bunch of readings from the PCM down to the connector. And there's nothing wrong with checking that, but sometimes I like to shortcut to the end if I think I know what the problem is. In this case, I wanted to check the continuity of the heater wire, because I should have continuity from this lead to this lead. If it has a heater circuit code, there's a chance that the heater actually burned open. So the wire got hot somewhere in here, and it burned open. In this case, if I check continuity from this lead to this lead, I would find OL, or out of limits. The heater was open. That's not always the case, but sometimes it is, and it's usually quick and easy to check. If this wire had a connection and we read the resistance would be very low, like a light bulb. Even though the light bulb's resistance is higher when it heats up, initially when it's cold, resistance is very low, below 5 ohms most of the time. So we have this code, and what we're going to do is measure the resistance of the heater circuit of a good O2 sensor, and then the heater circuit of a bad O2 sensor. All right, we've got our old oxygen sensor here, and we've gone and put the new oxygen sensor in the exhaust. But what we're going to measure is the resistance of the heater circuit. That's usually the two same color wires on the connector. Not always, but most of the time. So this is our old oxygen sensor, and I'm going to take a resistance reading between the two heater wires. So I have my meter set to measure resistance. I always like to just touch my leads together to test my meter, and the resistance of our test leads is 1/10 of an ohm. So now I'm going to go and touch the two tabs that correspond to the same color wires, or the black wires, and I can see that the resistance of the heater circuit is out of limits. That means it's open. It's the same resistance as this error right here. It's too great to measure. I'm going to come over to my new O2 sensor, and we'll assume that the new sensor does have a good heater, hopefully. I find the two same color wires, and now I'm going to check the resistance of this new O2 sensor heater circuit. And the new O2 sensor heater circuit has a resistance of 1.1 ohm. So this circuit is not open. Testing the O2 heater that way doesn't always guarantee that your heater is good because you see continuity, but if it's open, it's definitely bad.